Have you ever wondered what it would be like if every starter Pokemon got a regional variant evolution like the ones we saw in Pokemon Legends Arceus? Well, I have, which is why a little while ago I made a video where I asked this exact question and started to create some regional variant starter evolution designs of my very own. In that video, we covered the Kanto through Hoenn regions, and you guys really enjoyed that video and showed it a lot of love, which I really appreciate and is why I am here again today to continue asking that question and explore possible regional variant evolutions for the starter Pokemon of Sinnoh, Unova, and Kalos. As always, this is going to be a lot of fun, so let's go ahead and get to it. So these regional variant starters that I'm about to show you have been made possible thanks in part to Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co., today's wonderful sponsor. These two send you boxes of yummy Japanese candy and treats every month, and the best part is it all comes straight from Japan. This month, they've got some great boxes as well, and some of my more personal favorites, as Tokyo Treat's theme is Osaka Snackcation and features a lot of fun, chewy, and gummy treats, like these peach and grape gummies, which are delicious. And meanwhile, Sakura Co.'s theme this month is mochi and fruit marvels, and it's got a lot of, well, delicious mochi and fruit-flavored treats. It even comes with this nice piece of tableware to serve all your treats on as well for the most authentic Japanese snack eating experience possible. I love getting these boxes every month myself, and if you would also like to grab a box for yourself, you can do so with the links in the description below. And when you use code HOOPS at checkout, you'll also be able to get $5 off your first box of each, and it directly supports the channel when you do, so it's very much appreciated. So check that out with the link below, and a big thank you to Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. for supporting the channel. Picking back up where we left off in the last video, we are going to start today by taking a look at the Sinnoh region. And when you're talking about starter Pokemon, you've obviously got to start with the grass starters, so let's go ahead and see what it would be like if Turtwig got a regional variant evolution of its own. This is what it could look like if Torterra got the regional variant treatment in a future Pokemon game. Now, if you watch my videos, you may have already seen this design, and that's because I already featured it in a previous video where I talked about what it could be like if the older Pokemon regions had new unique Pokemon forms of their own. I highly recommend checking that video out with the card on screen if you haven't already, but basically, this form of Torterra was meant as a seasonal form that would appear in the Unova region since Unova features seasons, particularly during the months of autumn. Additionally, it is also grass ghost type in order to represent the fall season, and even though it wasn't designed specifically as a regional variant and instead a seasonal form as I said, you could very easily look at this as a Unovan Torterra, and frankly, even if I were to design a specific regional variant Torterra, I don't think it would come out looking better than this. So if we ever get Unovan forms in some sort of future Unova game, this is the kind of thing that I would personally love to see. Next, we are going to take a look at Infernape, and Infernape is obviously a very popular starter Pokemon, so making a regional variant of it is going to be something that comes with a lot of expectation. First and foremost though, I've got to give a shout out to the artists that have helped me to create the designs that you see in this video, and they are none other than my good friends Oscar and Trevenart. They have helped bring all of these to life and they do great work, so I highly recommend checking them out with the links in the description. With that being said though, this is my idea for a regional variant Infernape. First, this regional Infernape is Fire Psychic type as opposed to Fire Fighting, and this comes from its new yet familiar inspiration. Since the Sinnoh starters are all based around themes of mythology, I wanted to keep that with these variants, and as such, this regional Infernape has the same inspirations as that of its original counterpart, which is that of Sun Wukong from Chinese mythology. However, it's simply a different aspect of this character as opposed to what the original is going for. You see, Infernape is simply based more or less on the character of Sun Wukong, who is also known as the Monkey King. However, with this regional Infernape, I have focused a little bit more on the abilities of Sun Wukong, which is where it gets its psychic typing, because Sun Wukong is said to have many supernatural abilities, including those that are involved with its hair, as well as the ability of cloud surfing, which is why you sort of see it here surfing on its mystical fiery hair. This is also why the character of Goku from Dragon Ball is often seen surfing on a cloud, and why his hair goes crazy when he turns Super Saiyan, because Goku is also based on Sun Wukong. So this is an opportunity for Pokemon to do its own sort of thing with the character and those iconic abilities. And I feel like sort of looking at the other side of the coin of this inspiration for Infernape would be a great opportunity to do something different with it and turn it into a great regional variant. Let's go ahead and move on though to the final of the Sinnoh starters, Empoleon. Now, I personally am really excited with what I have come up with for my regional variant Empoleon, because it looks like none other than this. This regional Empoleon is a water electric type, and as I said with the regional Infernape, the goal was to keep the mythology inspirations going, and since the original Empoleon is partially based on Poseidon from Greek mythology, I decided to keep that idea there, but basically switch up which god in Greek mythology this particular version of Empoleon was based on. And as you may have been able to guess based on the electric typing and the big beard that this Empoleon has, it is partially based on none other than Zeus. And not only did this work really well with what the original Empoleon was based on from a mythological perspective, but it also works really well with Empoleon's other inspirations too, because Empoleon is based first and foremost on an emperor penguin, and Zeus in Greek mythology is known as the king of the gods. So those two dynamics fit together really well and correlate really well with one another, which is another reason why I thought it was a perfect fit. I also just think anytime you have the opportunity to base a Pokemon on Zeus, you should probably do it, and I think it ended up making Empoleon look really, really awesome, and once again, this is something I would absolutely love to see happen for real. Now we're going to move to the Unova region, and we have two starter Pokemon to cover here because the third one, Samurott, already got a regional variant in Pokemon Legends Arceus, so with that being said, let's go ahead and start with Serperior. This is the regional variant of Serperior that I have created that I think would be really cool to see. Now, what I have gone and done with the regional variants of these Unova starters is similar to what I did with the Sinnoh starters. I wanted to keep the inspirations for the Unova starters going and sort of just shake them up a little bit. In case you don't know, the Unova starters are based on different kinds of culture, since obviously the Unova region is based on the United States, where many different cultures come together and interact with one another. Therefore, with these regional variants, I wanted to keep the emphasis on that cultural dynamic, but simply change the culture that was inspiring these particular Pokemon. In Serperior's case, it is primarily based on French culture. So with this regional variant that I have created, I have decided to have it be inspired by, this time around, Western US culture, particularly that of the Wild West. Snakes, and particularly rattlesnakes, are synonymous with this area of the world and this kind of culture, which is why this Serperior has sort of become a rattlesnake as well, and also gained a lot of those Wild West type vibes into its design. This is something that I imagine could exist in a Western US region, or a Mexican region, or a Wild West themed location, and I feel like it would be really cool to see. And I especially like the fact that it keeps those cultural inspirations within Serperior's design, while also making it into something that is significantly different. And as opposed to Serperior's pure grass typing, this version of Serperior is a grass ground type in order to properly represent the deserty themes that it is illustrating with its appearance. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at Emboar though, and this is the idea that I have come up with for a regional variant Emboar. Just like my regional Serperior, this Emboar is based on a certain culture of the world, but is different than that of the original Emboar, who is inspired by Chinese culture. It is illustrated fairly prominently in its design, so you may have been able to deduce it already, but this Emboar is based on European culture, and particularly focuses on the concept of monarchies and kings, hence why it has a fiery cape and a crown-shaped protrusion on the top of its head. This is something that could work in many different European-based locations, since Europe is well known for its various kings, but this design in particular was kind of made with the UK in mind, since Great Britain is probably the place that is most well known for its kings and queens. So you could look at this as a hypothetical Galarian Emboar. It is also traded in its fighting type for the steel type and is now fire steel type, and this comes from not only the metal crowns and other ornaments that kings and queens are known to wear and possess, but also from the phrase ruling with an iron fist, which kings are obviously known to do. And while it missed out on its chance to become a Galarian form, this kind of design still has a lot of opportunity to be a thing in the future, and personally, it is something that I would love to see happen. As mentioned earlier, Samurott is already covered thanks to Pokemon Legends Arceus, so we are now going to move into the Kalos region, and for a regional variant form of Chestnut, the fully evolved grass starter of the Kalos region, this is what I have come up with. Now, this isn't something that I came up with recently, as I actually created this regional Chestnut for a video I made a while ago on what it would be like if we got a Pokemon Legends Unova game, where I selected Chespin and then eventually Chestnut as one of the starters for that title. So this was designed as a Unovan Chestnut and is a grass steel type Pokemon instead of grass fighting. I recommend checking out that video as well if you haven't to get the full picture, but in a nutshell, or a chestnut shell I should say, this version of Chestnut is based on the chestnut blight, which is a disease that affected chestnut trees in North America and essentially meant to be represented by the fact that Chespin is obviously not native to this part of the Pokemon world and is having to adapt and protect itself from its new environment. Having this inspiration also works out perfectly with it gaining the steel type to represent this, since the steel type is obviously immune to poison type moves. And since Chestnut is already a pretty armored-like Pokemon to begin with, I feel like this concept with this typing just made a lot of sense. I do also have some new designs for you though, and one of those has to do with one of the most infamous starter Pokemon in terms of this channel, and that would be none other than, of course, Delphox. Now, I describe Delphox as infamous here because I am not a Delphox fan. I do not like its design, and I've shared that sentiment on my channel in various videos in the past. Additionally, even outside of my own opinion, Delphox is just a divisive Pokemon. Some people like it, some people absolutely hate it, particularly for its design, and so when it came to trying to create a regional variant of this Pokemon, whose original design I really do not like, it was a bit of a challenge because I obviously want to make something that I think looks cool and also kind of redeems the original Delphox in terms of its concept. So I can't lie when I say that this was a challenge, but this is what I ultimately came up with. This regional form of Delphox is a fire ghost type and builds off of Delphox's inspiration of being based on the Mage RPG class, as all of the Kalos starters are based on different RPG classes. As such, this regional variant of Delphox is based on a Necromancer, which is a kind of subset of the Mage class that specifically deals with the dead and undead, hence why it's traded in its Psychic type for a Ghost type. I think this is a perfect inspiration for a Delphox regional variant, considering that a Necromancer is kind of a variant of the Mage that Delphox itself is based on anyway, so I feel like it's a perfect translation in terms of a regional variant. Delphox's wand has also become a big, large staff, as well as when you look up Necromancers and what they look like, they are very often depicted with a large staff such as this, and even though I'm not a huge fan of Pokemon carrying objects around, and this is one of the reasons why I didn't like Delphox, I feel like I prefer something like this to the dinky little wand that Delphox carries. And while this design may have been influenced by my own personal biases against Delphox, I feel like regardless of whether you like or dislike the Pokemon, a Necromancer inspiration for a regional variant of this Pokemon just makes all the sense in the world in my opinion, and has a ton of potential to be insanely cool. And now we come to who is easily the most popular of the three Kalos starters, Greninja. Now, Greninja, in terms of creating a regional variant for it, was pretty tricky for me, because I felt it difficult to make Greninja into something different when it is so entrenched in its identity as a ninja. I mean, it's literally in the name of this Pokemon. After thinking on it and exploring various different avenues, I was having some trouble coming up with something that I thought made sense. But ultimately, I was able to figure out something that I thought was pretty neat, and that is this design. This is a water-ice type variant of Greninja, and its design is inspired by one of the most signature aspects of Greninja's design, its tongue. Or, if you prefer, its tongue scarf. This is probably the most single recognizable element of Greninja as a Pokemon, and since it is styled as a scarf, that kind of gave me the idea to focus in on this particular aspect of the Pokemon and make it a more literal scarf, as in something that is used to keep you warm, particularly in the colder winter months. And since frogs, which Greninja is also obviously based on, are cold-blooded, which means that their body temperature is dependent on the temperature of the environment that they're in, and therefore they need to pay special attention to keeping their body temperature up, I thought that was just enough to work with and play with in order to make Greninja an ice type, and one that is at least somewhat justified. Despite the limited creative options though, I feel like this concept ultimately resulted in a pretty solid regional variant design of this Pokemon, and I don't think it's something that the rabid Greninja fanbase would dislike at all if something like it were to ever become a real thing. And with that said, that is what it could be like if a few more starter Pokemon got regional variant evolutions of their own. Now, if you want to see the final part to this and see regional variant evolutions for the Alola, Galar, and Paldea starters, be sure to leave a like on this video, comment down below, and share it around so it can do well enough to warrant that third part. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new for more new Pokemon content just like this all the time, and with that being said, I will see you guys very soon with another video. Until then, as always, thank you guys so much for watching this one. I really truly appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.